I finally accepted Tekken 8. So, I never thought that I'd make this video, because if you've been around my channel for a while, you already know how this story goes. Tekken 7 was the reason I started this channel in the first place. Not just casually either. I was obsessed with Tekken. I'm talking watching matches before bed, thinking about combos while I was at work, labbing stuff for hours, arguing about the game online, getting hyped over character reveals, watching tournaments like they were sporting events. Tekken wasn't just a game that I liked. For a while, it was the game that I liked. And then, Tekken 8 came out. And man, I hated it. Not, I need time to adjust hate. Not, the honeymoon phase is over hate. I mean genuine disappointment. The kind where you boot the game up hoping today is the day that it finally clicks, and it just doesn't. And I know that I'm not alone in that feeling either, because a lot of longtime Tekken players had this same emotional reaction to Tekken 8. Not because it was broken beyond repair, not because it had literally nothing good in it, but because it felt like something fundamentally changed. And for some people, that change was exciting. But for me, it felt like I lost something. I think the biggest thing for me was the overall direction of the game. Tekken used to feel dangerous in a very specific way. Like every movement mattered, spacing mattered, timing mattered. You could feel tension in neutral. Even when nothing was happening, something was happening. But Tekken 8 feels like it constantly wants action. It does want that. That's the exact idea. There's constant pressure, constant aggression, constant explosions on the screen. Everything is louder, faster, flashier, more cinematic, more aggressive. And after a while, it started feeling exhausting. Not exciting, just exhausting. Because sometimes I don't want every round to feel like the final battle in an anime movie. Sometimes I just want to play Tekken. And I think that's where a lot of my frustration came from. The game feels overproduced. That's the best way I can describe it. Every hit has fireworks attached to it, every mechanic screams for attention, every menu has giant dramatic energy. It's like the game is constantly trying to convince you how hype it is. And weirdly enough, that made it feel less special to me. Because when everything is explosive, nothing feels explosive anymore. And then there's the gameplay stuff. I'm not gonna get super nerdy here. I used to be that guy. I used to care about every little system detail and frame interaction and all that stuff. But honestly, I don't anymore. Now, I mostly just care whether the game feels good to play. And sometimes, Tekken 8 just doesn't. The hitboxes can feel ridiculous. There are moments when you swear you moved correctly and the game's just like, nope, you got clipped anyway. And that feeling is brutal in a fighting game. Because fighting games are built on trust. You trust that your movement matters, you trust that spacing matters, you trust that what you're seeing makes sense. And when that trust starts disappearing, frustration starts replacing the fun. That happened to me a lot with Tekken 8. Especially because movement was one of the things I loved most about older Tekken games. That feeling of narrowly slipping around an attack, making somebody whiff, creating space, outsmarting someone. That's the magic of Tekken to me. And in Tekken 8, sometimes sidestepping and sidewalking still work. And when they do, the game suddenly feels amazing again. For a second, you see the old Tekken. You get that beautiful moment where movement solves the problem instead of just pressing harder buttons. And those moments are still in the game, just not often enough for me. But here's the thing. Somewhere along the way, I stopped trying to force myself to love Tekken 8. And that changed everything. Because for months, I kept approaching the game like it had to become my next obsession. Like it had to replace Tekken 7 in my heart. And every time it failed to do that, I just got angry. But eventually, I realized something really simple. Maybe this game just isn't that for me. And maybe that's okay. That realization genuinely helped me enjoy the game more. Because now I don't boot up Tekken 8 expecting the greatest competitive fighting game ever made. I boot it up because sometimes I just want to play as characters that I've loved for years. That's it. And honestly, there's still something special about that. Getting to play as these characters again still matters to me. Even if they don't feel as sharply defined as they used to, even if the game pushes everyone toward offense, even if the identity of the series feels blurrier now, these characters are still part of gaming history to me. I grew up with this franchise, so there's still joy there, just a different kind of joy. And I think the funniest example of how much I've changed happened recently. So years ago, if I played Tekken, I treated it like a military operation. I needed to be fully locked in, perfect setup, perfect focus, no distractions. If my eyes felt weird, done for the day. If I wasn't fully concentrated, I'd get annoyed. A bit more than annoyed, actually rageful. Everything was serious. But recently, I had this moment where I was playing Tekken 8 with my contacts out. And I can't see anything without my contacts. I mean, I can, but it's extremely blurry. And if you wear contacts, you probably understand how goofy that is. I could barely see properly. Everything was blurry, and somehow, I was still having fun. I wasn't grinding ranked, I wasn't sweating, I wasn't analyzing, I just wasn't caring. Just playing. Laughing at dumb situations, pressing buttons, doing random stuff with the characters I like, pretty much exclusively Nina. And afterward, I realized old me never would have done that. Old me would have been furious. I would have said, there's no point in playing if I can't perform at my best. But now, I don't know. I think I just stopped attaching my identity to the game, and that made the game a lot lighter. Because at some point I had to admit something to myself. I don't think Tekken 8 should really be viewed as this ultra-serious competitive masterpiece anymore. At least not for me personally. And I know some people will disagree with that, and that's fine. If you love grinding ranked in this game and competing seriously, going to tournaments, genuinely, more power to you. But for me, the healthiest thing I ever did was stop treating it like a sacred esport. Now it's just a fighting game I occasionally have fun with. That's it. And weirdly enough, accepting that made me less bitter, because bitterness mostly came from expectation. I expected Tekken 8 to become this huge next chapter in my gaming life. Instead, it became something I casually revisit every now and then. And honestly, that's still okay. Not every game has to define your life. Not every sequel has to recreate the exact feeling you had years ago. Sometimes things change. Sometimes you change. And I have definitely changed. Back during Tekken 7, I think I was chasing improvement constantly. Always trying to prove something, always trying to level up, always trying to become good, quote unquote. Everyone wants to get good. And there's nothing wrong with that mindset. But it can also drain the fun out of games over time, especially in competitive games. Because eventually you stop asking, am I enjoying this? And start asking, am I winning enough? And those are very different questions. And Tekken 8 kind of forced me to confront that, because the more seriously I took it, the less fun I had. So now, I just treat it differently. I hop on when I get the urge, I play a few matches, I enjoy the characters, maybe I laugh at something dumb, maybe I get annoyed for 5 minutes, then I move on with my life. And honestly, that relationship with the game feels healthier than the obsession ever did. Do I think this game has problems? Absolutely. I think the offensive focus is overdone. I still think the visual overload can be exhausting. I still think movement should matter more. I think some interactions feel ridiculous, particularly Lydia. I hate playing against that character. I still think the game lost some of the elegance older Tekken games had. And I also don't feel the need to rage about any of this stuff anymore. Because at the end of the day, Tekken 8 is what it is, and I finally stopped fighting that reality. Ironically, that's the thing that helped me enjoy it all. I think a lot of longtime fans go through this with franchises eventually. You fall in love with something at a specific point in your life, then the series changes, or the audience changes, or you change. And suddenly, you're stuck trying to recreate a feeling that existed years ago. But sometimes, the healthiest thing you can do is just appreciate what still remains. And for me, what remains is this. I still like Tekken. Maybe not in the obsessive way I used to. Maybe not in the this is the greatest fighting game ever made way. But enough to occasionally hop on, laugh, play my favorite characters, and have a good time. And honestly, that's enough for me now. So no, I don't love Tekken 8. I probably never will. But I don't hate it anymore either. And that feels kind of peaceful. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you on the next one. Adios. Alright, so if you really enjoyed this video, I want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share it, and do all the things that you do. I really appreciate all that. There's going to be more gameplay. There's a couple minutes worth of gameplay left, and I just wanted to take a moment to talk, I guess, a little less formally than when I was doing the narration. I might make more Tekken 8 content. I might address specific things. I might make a list video about it. I don't know. But anyway, I'm mostly going to be focusing on other games, but I just felt like the Tekken chapter in my life needed to... I needed to close the door on it somehow, or come up with something for it in some way. I don't know. I just didn't want to leave it with just pure, like, I got angry. I think the last thing I did with Tekken was I got angry at a Fakam ROM stream that I was doing, and I just got so pissed off that I just never played it again, and I pretty much just... I remember an Anna stream where I got so angry. I think I made Fujin with her, and I was just trashing the game and saying how much I hated it at the time. I did start training Muay Thai and kickboxing, and that has helped me a lot with just, I don't know, getting a grip on life, I guess, and not being so angry at a damn game. I still get salty at games, you know, and I still get salty at Tekken 8. Don't think that I don't. But anyway, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it, and enjoy the rest of the gameplay and the music if you want, and like and subscribe. Bye again. Bye!